Toyota just did something nobody saw coming. They took America's most sensible family sedan and gave it a full-on performance makeover. This isn't the commuter Camry your neighbor drives to work every day. This is the Camry GT-S Concept, a car that looks like it just rolled straight out of a tuner's dream garage. But here's the big question. Is this just another flashy show car built to grab attention at SEMA? Or did Toyota actually build a Camry that's fun to drive? Today, we're diving deep into what the GT-S Concept really is, what's underneath that aggressive bodywork, and whether this could be the first Camry in years to stir up a little adrenaline behind the wheel. The Camry GT-S Concept is Toyota's latest experiment in blending everyday practicality with pure driving emotion. Built on the foundation of the 2025 Camry XSE all-wheel drive hybrid, this concept isn't a wild fantasy meant to sit behind velvet ropes. It's a calculated design and performance study created by Toyota's CALTY design research team in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Their goal was to imagine what would happen if the Camry, long known for being dependable and conservative, decided to show off its athletic side. Unveiled at the 2025 SEMA show in Las Vegas, the GT-S serves as Toyota's statement piece to the enthusiast community. It's not a confirmed production car, but rather a bold question posed to drivers. What if the Camry embraced the sportier identity? Toyota describes it as an aspirational yet attainable concept, a way to test how far the Camry nameplate can stretch without losing its core values of reliability and comfort. So while this car isn't destined for showrooms just yet, it gives us a clear look at how Toyota's thinking about the next chapter of its most popular sedan. And if the public reaction at SEMA is any indication, people are ready for a Camry that looks and maybe even feels like it belongs on a track. At first glance, the Camry GT-S Concept doesn't whisper, it shouts in the best way possible. It's bold, unapologetic, and completely unlike the everyday Camry you see parked in your office lot. Draped in a striking black and gold two-tone finish, what Toyota designers call Inferno Flare, the car instantly demands attention. The front bumper has been completely resculpted with sharper lines and deeper intakes that look engineered to slice through air. Along the sides, sculpted skirts and aerodynamic fins give the profile a planted, muscular stance, while the rear diffuser and subtle deck lid spoiler pull clear inspiration from touring car races. Even the blacked-out roof and hood accents tie the whole look together, creating a sense of motion even when the car is standing still.
This isn't subtle styling, it's performance theater. Every surface and contrast color feels intentional, from the way light hits the gold trim to the aggressive mesh grille that could easily pass for a Lexus F Sport. Adam Rabinowitz from Toyota's CALTY design research team calls the GT-S a performance and style study, and that's exactly what it is. Toyota's way of exploring how far they can push Camry's personality before it crosses into true sports sedan territory. And that's what makes it matter. The changes are mostly skin and aero, but they serve a purpose. At SEMA, attitude is everything. Toyota didn't come here to blend in, they came to test the waters, to see if the American market is ready to accept the Camry that looks fast, feels premium, and dares to step outside its comfort zone. Judging by the crowds it drew on the show floor, this design might just be the spark Toyota needed to redefine what Camry means in 2025 and beyond. Here's the reality check that brings the GT-S concept back down to earth. It's not packing a new engine under that sculpted hood. Toyota kept the same hybrid setup you'll find in the 2025 Camry XSE all-wheel drive hybrid. That means a 2.5-liter four-cylinder paired with electric motors, delivering a combined output of about 232 horsepower sent through an electronic all-wheel drive system. It's a proven powertrain, smooth, efficient, and surprisingly capable for everyday driving, but it's not designed to set lap records. And honestly, that's the point. The GT-S concept isn't about chasing raw numbers or outgunning sports sedans twice its price. Toyota's engineers made a deliberate decision to focus their attention on what most drivers actually feel every time they get behind the wheel: how the car turns, grips, and stops. By keeping the hybrid system stock, they could channel resources into tuning the suspension geometry, upgrading the brakes, and fine-tuning the ride height and damping to make this Camry feel sharper, more responsive, and more connected to the road. From a strategic perspective, this approach also keeps the concept attainable. It sends a message that Toyota could, if the response is strong, bring something very close to this into production without a major re-engineering effort. It's a smarter, more realistic kind of performance experiment, one rooted in the real world rather than an expensive one-off prototype. So while the GT-S Concept doesn't come with a new power figure to brag about, the story here isn't what's missing under the hood. It's how Toyota's reimagining what the familiar hybrid system can feel like when paired with the right chassis and hardware. It's proof that performance isn't always about adding more power. Sometimes it's about unlocking more potential from what's already there. This is where things start to get serious, the part that actually determines whether a car feels fun to drive. Toyota's engineers didn't just dress up the GT-S Concept for the SEMA spotlight, they gave it real hardware underneath to back up the looks. The suspension setup has been completely reworked with adjustable coilovers that drop the ride height by about 1.5 inches. That lower stance isn't just for show. It brings down the center of gravity, sharpens the turn-in, and gives the car a more planted, confident feel through corners. But the real story sits behind those 20-inch wheels. Toyota fitted the GT-S with massive braking hardware. We're talking 8-piston calipers up front and 6-piston units in the rear. The kind of setup you'd expect to see on a serious sports car, not a mid-sized hybrid sedan. Combined with high-performance tires inspired by the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2, this isn't just a styling exercise. These components are engineered to make the Camry stop harder, grip better, and maintain consistent braking performance even under repeated aggressive use. What's impressive is how much this hardware can transform the driving feel without a single extra horsepower. With the lower, firmer suspension, body roll is dramatically reduced, steering becomes more direct, and every input feels tighter and more immediate. Add those sticky tires and oversized brakes, and suddenly this Camry Hybrid starts behaving like a car that wants to be driven, not just commuted. This is the genius of the GT-S Concept. Toyota didn't chase numbers, they chased feel. They focused on the parts of the driving experience that connect you to the car. The feedback through the steering wheel, the balance through a fast corner, the confidence under hard braking. And for a brand that spent decades building its reputation for comfort and reliability, this kind of engineering focus is exactly the signal enthusiasts have been waiting for. Step inside the Camry GT-S Concept and you'll notice something interesting. Toyota didn't try to reinvent the cabin. It's still very much the familiar interior from the Camry XSE Hybrid, which means a clean, driver-centric layout, the same large-screen infotainment system, supportive seats, and all the creature comforts you'd expect from a modern mid-size sedan. And that's entirely by design. The GT-S isn't about creating a stripped-down, track-only Camry. It's about layering sportiness onto what people already love about this car: comfort, practicality, and everyday usability.
That approach is actually smart. By keeping the cabin familiar, Toyota preserves what makes the Camry so easy to live with: the quiet refinement, the intuitive controls, and the sense of space. For buyers who might want something with more visual attitude and sharper handling, but aren't ready to give up daily comfort, this balance hits the sweet spot. It shows Toyota understands that performance doesn't have to mean compromise. There's also a practical side to it. A concept that's mostly focused on exterior design and chassis tuning is much easier to evolve into a potential production package. No need to redesign the dash or develop new materials. Just tweak the suspension, wheels, and aero kit, and it's ready for a showroom. So while the GT-S cabin may not look wildly different, the message it sends is clear. Toyota wants to make the Camry more exciting without losing the everyday usability that made it a household name. So what does all of that engineering actually mean when you're behind the wheel? Even though Toyota didn't touch the powertrain, the GT-S Concept promises a very different kind of driving experience. The magic here isn't about straight-line speed, it's about feel. The lowered suspension and retuned geometry should make the front end respond faster to steering inputs, giving you sharper turn-in and better mid-corner control.
You'll sense that extra confidence when you carve through a highway on-ramp or thread through a series of tight city corners. The car feels more alert, more eager to follow your lead. Then there's the braking setup. Those massive multi-piston calipers and high-grip tires aren't just for show. They change how the car behaves when you need to slow down hard or repeatedly, say during a spirited backroad drive or a few laps on a test track. The result is more consistent stopping power, less fade, and a sense of control that gives you the courage to brake later and drive harder. It's the kind of improvement that doesn't always translate into spec sheet bragging rights, but every driver can feel it from the first corner. This is where Toyota's tuning philosophy really shines. If they've calibrated the steering weight, damping, and EAWD response the way we expect, the GT-S should deliver a balance that feels planted yet playful, a sedan that finally wants to be hustled a bit. You won't get a huge surge of acceleration like in a turbocharged sports sedan, but you will get engagement, precision, and feedback, the traits that make driving satisfying. In essence, Toyota didn't try to make the Camry faster on paper. They tried to make it more alive in your hands. And for a car with a reputation built on being safe, steady, and predictable, that shift alone is a huge step towards rediscovering the fun side of the badge. The GT-S concept isn't about chasing horsepower wars. It's about testing the waters to see how far Toyota can stretch the Camry's image without breaking what makes it so successful. Think of it as a paint and performance study, meant to gauge real-world interest. For buyers who love the idea of a sportier sedan but don't necessarily want to jump into a high-strung, high-maintenance performance car, the GT-S hits a very smart middle ground. It offers sharper handling, more aggressive styling, and a more engaging feel, all while keeping the everyday comfort, practicality, and reliability that Camry owners expect. In that sense, this concept speaks directly to the heart of Toyota's American audience. Drivers who want their daily commute to feel a little more special. It's for someone who might look at the Honda Accord Sport or the new Accord Type S and think, I want that attitude, but I trust Toyota's long-term dependability. It's for the person who admires the Kia K5 GT's bold design, but prefers Toyota's hybrid efficiency and resale value. The GT-S is Toyota's answer to that group. Buyers who crave a touch of excitement, but still live in the real world of gas mileage, maintenance, and comfort. And strategically, it also fits Toyota's broader philosophy. Rather than rolling out an expensive, low-volume V6 or V8 sport variant that would push the Camry into luxury pricing territory, Toyota focuses on attainable performance, upgrades that make the car more appealing and fun without alienating its core audience. That's why the GT-S feels believable. It's not a fantasy halo car meant to grab headlines and disappear. It's a glimpse at what the next Camry XSE or a future Camry Sport package could actually look like in a dealership. So when you step back and look at the big picture, the GT-S concept isn't just about one car. It's about Toyota redefining what sporty means in the context of everyday driving. It's a subtle but important shift, signaling that even the most sensible sedan in America can still stir a little emotion.
It's important to remember that the Camry GT-S is, first and foremost, a concept. Toyota made it very clear that this isn't a preview of an imminent production model, but a design and performance study, a way to measure how the public reacts to a more aggressive, enthusiast-oriented Camry. In Toyota's own words, it's aspirational yet attainable, which perfectly captures the balance they're aiming for, something bold enough to inspire conversation, but realistic enough to imagine in your driveway. That said, the GT-S doesn't feel like pure fantasy. The hardware choices, coil-over suspension, serious brake upgrades, and production-based components suggest Toyota's engineers weren't just designing for show. They built something functional, something that could be adapted into a future performance trim or even an appearance and handling package offered through dealerships. It's exactly the kind of experiment Toyota has used before to test market ideas before turning them into real products. And when you consider the involvement of CALTY design research in Ann Arbor, the same team responsible for some of Toyota's most influential North American designs, it's clear this project wasn't just a one-off SEMA stunt. It represents an internal conversation at Toyota about how to evolve the Camry's personality as buyer expectations shift. With crossovers dominating sales, keeping the sedan relevant means giving it character, and the GT-S is Toyota's way of finding out just how far they can push that transformation. So while the GT-S in its exact form probably won't reach showrooms, don't be surprised if pieces of it do. The stance, the attitude, and the idea of a sport-focused hybrid Camry could easily translate into a future trim or optional package offered through dealerships. It's exactly the kind of experiment Toyota has used before to test market ideas before turning them into real products. And when you consider the involvement of CALTY design research in Ann Arbor, the same team responsible for some of Toyota's most influential North American designs, it's clear this project wasn't just a one-off SEMA stunt. It represents an internal conversation at Toyota about how to evolve the Camry's personality as buyer expectations shift. With crossovers dominating sales, keeping the sedan relevant means giving it character, and the GT-S is Toyota's way of finding out just how far they can push that transformation. So while the GT-S in its exact form probably won't reach showrooms, don't be surprised if pieces of it do. The stance, the attitude, and the idea of a sport-focused hybrid Camry could easily translate into a future trim or optional package. In that sense, the GT-S isn't just a concept car, it's a test signal from Toyota, asking the market one very clear question: are you ready for a Camry that's built to thrill? So here's the takeaway. The Camry GT-S concept car might not be a production car yet, but it's proof that Toyota is finally ready to inject some excitement back into its most practical nameplate. It's bold, it's functional, and it shows that performance and efficiency don't have to live on opposite ends of the spectrum. The question now is, will Toyota take the hint and actually build something like this for the road? What do you think? Should Toyota bring a Camry GT-S or sport trim to production? Would you buy one if it drove like this and kept hybrid efficiency? Drop your thoughts down below because Toyota is clearly listening to what enthusiasts have to say. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Camry GT-S concept, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Car Today Reviews, and turn on notifications. We've got more coverage coming from SEMA and exclusive looks at what's next in the world of performance hybrids. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next drive.